Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast. I've got a fantastic guest for the audience today, Scott Gilbert, and he is here to talk to the audience of doctor, lawyer, dentist, med spa owners, entrepreneurs. He's here to disrupt how med spas think about growth and profitability. He's got a really interesting background as a med sales rep, ortho, and I'm really happy to have him on and talk about his pivot and what he learned and how he helps clients today. Scott, welcome.
Thank you very much for the intro. I'm excited to be here, Chris.
Yeah, and briefly chronicle your journey. I know you're in med sales, and how you got to be doing what you're doing.
Yeah, so I spent a decade in orthopedic sales. That's where I learned the specifics of doing one thing well. Being great at one thing is where you begin to excel. I don't know if most people don't know, but an orthopedic sales rep just follows from patient all the way through to the OR room, just following the same product to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. And I think there's that attention to detail, which is required to become great at something. And so I took that. At that time, I also had developed my own kind of skin concerns type thing. It made me a bit sheepish. I had some pigmentation that was going on my face, and I really struggled to find solutions for it. And this is, I know I had a pretty extensive network with regards to medicine. I'm actually also met my wife is now, my now wife is a plastic surgeon. And even then I struggled to find the solution. And then fast forward a few years after that, I was helping my wife set up her first clinic, and she takes care of a lot of skin cancers. And I was like, I'll talk to the reps, being a rep, and I'll probably have to support your clinic with some sunscreens and things like that. And given the samples from the rep, lo and behold, my pigmentation fell off 2 weeks later. And it was, so if this stuff is here everywhere, why was I not able to find out solutions for me? And I'm sure there's other people. And that kind of began my journey into aesthetics, or more specifically was, why was aesthetics not offering really the solution from the client side that they needed? And I think that was the specific thing. So dove headfirst into it, opened up a med spa to solve the problem of it. And we opened up. Grand opening was on a Thursday the 12th, and we closed on Friday the 13th for COVID. And so that was my introduction into aesthetic medicine, and I was in the thick of it. So it took a long time. I understood the over-leveraged, the extensive kind of monthly payments that go along with these types of clinics and the problems they solve. It took about 4 years, but eventually I documented my journey and found a way to be creative, an efficient set of systems to grow and scale before I finally exited.
Interesting. What I was really interesting is during this, when clients come to you, what are they seeking help with? What are they seeking solutions for?
I think there's what they think they're seeking and what they need. So it's what they want and what they need. And I think that a lot of us, myself included, when I got into it, we're focused on the wrong metrics. We're looking at the wrong things. And so people believe they need more patients or more clients. They need more sales, but the truth is they need more resources. So it's not revenue, it's resources. So the goal is, depending on how advanced your clinic is, or how I'd say mature it is, it has different sets of resources. And then you need to focus on the level of your clinic, the resources that I have, and then tackle the biggest constraint with what you have. And so there is an order of operation for things. I think that's the main thing, is everyone thinks it's just more patients, but the reality is that's just not the truth. There's other things you have to look at.
Interesting. So then moving forwards, what you learned, what was interesting was we had this aha moment from just a fitness industry influencer, and taking those solutions and concepts into the aesthetics. Talk about how you incorporated that in and turned your business around.
Yeah. So I think after falling behind immediately during COVID, which was difficult, but I guess, as you say, necessity is the mother of invention. I found myself regressing and literally becoming the exact same thing that I set out to fix, which was quickly trying to close sales because I needed the cash, because every month you have so many payments. And that's the opposite of what I was trying to do, but I felt it. I was just here in this rat race. And I started looking at other industries that were similar in nature as far as the makeup, or how a patient goes through or client goes through, the length of time, the investment, that type of thing. And where were these successes at, particularly in more mature industries? Because I think aesthetics itself is just so young that it's just growing so much that just the nature of the industry growing, everyone seems to be growing along with it, but now it's starting to get saturated. And so now you have to be good. It's not just good enough to hang a shingle. And so I took the fitness industry and I was like, the length of time it takes to get into shape is roughly the same amount of time it takes to improve your skin. The investment is similar, and the goals of the gym are going to be different based upon the structure or the maturity. So if you're a small clinic gym versus a massive box store gym, you get different resources available and you have to have different goals. And another thing is that focusing on the right numbers. So they talk a lot about the cost of client acquisition versus the gross profit of a client. That's really the only two numbers you need. Because if you're just looking to grow a business, there's only three ways. Two ways. You can double click on one of them. You can get more clients or you can have them worth more. And if you double click on have them worth more, you end up with the number of times they purchase and the average ticket of every sale. So moving from like revenue and sales to how can I decrease the cost to acquire a client and how can I increase the length that they stay with me, the number of purchase they have, and then the target of, the cost of every purchase. And just doing that, I took that and I adopted it and I started to implement these strategies into aesthetics. So as opposed to selling everything, and because that's quite often what we do is we take anyone that comes in off the street, we ask them a few questions and we make this bespoke treatment plan from them. But what ends up happening is you got so many different combinations of permutations. I think I did the math. I think it ends up to be several hundred million if you just took the different pigmentation, wrinkles, all the different product lines and the different treatments and the orders we had. Like, there's no way you can become good at something. You can't be good at sales. You can't be good at efficiencies. So I streamlined it down to what is it, just what the client wants, creating one program, one package, and beginning to be very good at looking at kind of the client journey horizontally. And then that's how I adopted it. So just when somebody comes off the street from fitness, they're just selling a singular program, a concept. They're not saying, I'm going to sell you bicep curls or lunges or something like that, which is essentially what we're doing in the aesthetic industry right now.
Yeah, no, because you mentioned that the fitness industry sells categories while aesthetic sells brands. So that's the next question I have for you is, because then from this, you implemented, you studied, you read, and then you came up with this 5 growth engines. What are those? And talk about it to the audience.
Yes. So the engines are essentially like, an engine is something where you're going to give a certain amount of input and you're going to expect some sort of larger output for your purpose out of it. And so you put gas in the car. So there's always an input. Well, maybe it's electric now, but the gas in the car, the engine, and then it's going to provide enough energy for you to do what you need to do. And depending on where your clinic is, if it's brand new, you might not have people. So if you're looking at the gross profitability of every client, if I was to just increase a brand new clinic from $1,000 to $2,000 of what a person gives to them, that would be doubling the business. But there's nuance to that. And so this is where the efficiency comes in, because if it's a venture-backed capital clinic of some sort, they might have massive resources. And if the $2,000 comes in, if you take the person from 1 year to 2 years and you $1,000 to $2,000, if most of that $2,000 comes in near the end and somebody has a lot of capital, that's fine. But for the clinic that's new, that does not have cash flow, they need that, most of the $2,000 to be moved forward. So it's not the same. So this is when it comes into efficiency, is how do I increase the gross profitability of a person, but also drag enough resources forward so I can continue to make monthly payments and then get to the next level. And so the first one is just bringing people in the door efficiently. So from marketing all the way through into your clinic. And the second would be a sales, which is making use of the marketing on the way in the door to crush the biggest concerns that they have. So they're not getting the same objectives or ejections in the sales. So that means you're able to faster close people. And then you're going to move on to client onboarding, which is essentially retention, keeping them to last longer, and then putting people back in. So they're going to start referring. And then you're going to go on to profitability and then building your team out. And that's the order of operation that it goes through. So focusing on bringing somebody in and then improving the system systematically, almost as if the person that comes in is not about the sale, it's about the test. How can we test the system, A/B test it, and improve the entire system for it incrementally gets better with every person that comes through the door.
Interesting. And once you crack this, talk about some of the results you had, because obviously COVID had a dramatic effect on everybody, but then once you implemented, you had immediate and dramatic results.
Yeah, I think it took a while, even from knowing the models I wanted to take and steal from. It took the fact that the silos of a business that people often separate out. In order for something to be efficient, you need to actually cross-pollinate those. So marketing can't be a silo to itself. Sales is not a silo to itself. Your implementation, your fulfillment is not a silo, and neither is your client ascension. So what it came down to was I was outsourcing. I was trying to work on the business. I've got people that do the treatments, and I was outsourcing my marketing. But then they weren't really talking to each other. So if you got the engine, the spark needs the fuel, but the fuel needs the air, and the air needs the combustion chamber. And if it's not compressed, it doesn't make a difference anyways. So what ends up happening is as soon as I took over everything and I started to actually use the feedback loops from the sales to the marketing, and then also from the fulfillment back around, and as soon as that started to go, and I was testing for about a year. And as soon as it all clicked together, the results were pretty dramatic. We doubled our revenue in under 5 months. We had 83 referrals. So that's all free people, new people coming through the door. We added $103,000 in free revenue just from referrals. And I think that was the main aspect. And a lot of this was also based upon the client acquisition was now financed. So essentially I had no marketing budget because every person that came through the door would give me enough money to pay for the marketing of the next person and then 3 more people after that. So now you can be so efficient that you can outspend everyone. And I think that's the main thing is whoever can outspend will be able to grow the fastest, no matter how small or big your organization is. So we shot off, and actually that's how I ended up exiting. It was fairly quick. It was like 4 years of struggling. And then in 5 months, we literally shot through the roof. And by having the memberships and all of the assets, now I had a business that was actually attractive to other people. And we ended up exiting from that.
Yeah, interesting. And so now you're empowered and you're passionate about building a movement. It's called the Aesthetic Flight, and you share with other clinic owners. So talk about that and the results that you've gotten from your strategy helping other med spa owners.
Yeah, it got full circle. So I dove into aesthetics with the purpose of not actually wanting to do aesthetics, but finding out and solving how can I get these solutions that people are looking for into more people's hands. And then it turned out it took a long time to solve that problem. But the original plan was like, oh, do I get a franchise, get a scale, you're gonna do lots of them. And then I came up with this more or less, it's just like a licensing type of thing. And the idea is if I can help clinics, which already have population, help more people, then technically that's the movement. And that's what I'm really passionate about, because I think that a lot of people have these skin issues, these problems, and they're being sold stuff as opposed to getting solutions. And so that's the goal of Aesthetic Flight, is to help people in clinics that are in it and that their monthly payments, they're over their head. They want to help people, but they end up being kind of a slave to the business. And so I've got a systems that the information is free to everyone. If anyone out of your audience wants to see the documents of the 5 growth engines, what I did, more than happy to get me on my Instagram and send me a message. You can just add me as a friend and say Lou and a message, and I will send them over the documentation. And that's the goal, is I want more people to be empowered. You get into business for 2 reasons: to help people and to personally be able to have freedom and take care of your family. And so I want to help people do both. And I think if I can just share the knowledge, be able to people to get there, then more people will get the solutions and have happier lives.
Yeah. And you put in, because basically the aesthetics industry is rapidly growing, but again, it's becoming saturated. Basically, every corner you see aesthetics med spa. What's going to happen to clinic owners who don't change with the times, adapt their business models, implement AI? What's going to happen to them in the med spa industry?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the writing's on the wall. As the competition gets bigger, as the industry begins to mature, then what is going to happening is the cream will rise to the top. The ones that are able to get cash flow, to get capital, will end up just swallowing everyone else up on a fire sale. Because they're so leveraged, these machines. The industry has been predicated on like if you buy this laser, you're going to make so much money. And so what ends up happening is everyone gets paid except for the business owner, who's sitting probably with a massive lien. I think mine was like almost $400,000 for the equipment that we had. Your house is on the line. And I think it's been gone too far. I think it's now needs to claw back. I want to empower the owner to be able to make these decisions, to not just have the machine, which can help people, but have all the skills for these devices to actually help people. And if they can be profitable, then if you're in your area, if you are the best in your area, then that's it. Yeah, like the best restaurants are everywhere. But if a good restaurant drops into any block, they will take over. And so that'll be what happens. Restaurants turn over all the time. These aesthetic clinics are going to start turning over because they're so leveraged. And if you're going to have to quickly get better and get great, and the difference between good and great is a small amount on paper, but it's a massive amount on what you end up drawing in. And that's going to be the leverage, because the industry is growing and somebody's got to end up swallowing it all up. So that's going to be the biggest prize, is over the next probably 2 to 3 years, on who is able to survive and who is going to reap the benefits of this industry, which can help so many people and is obviously growing hand over fist right now.
Yeah. And for the med spa owners that are listening, how can they tell, like, what's a good litmus test for if they're just good enough or if they're going to make it?
Yeah, the basic litmus test for is if you are good enough is, are you getting referrals? That's it. The market always tells you. And if you ask every clinic owner that I've talked to, and I was the same, they're going to say, I just have more people. If I just had more clients, I'll be just fine. But that's not true. You only sell because you don't know how to market. You only market because you don't know how to make a product. And the reality is we're just not good enough. And if you're good enough, you'd be basically there. You'd have so many referrals, you wouldn't need to do the other two aspects. And so the goal is that with the efficiencies, this is exactly what these 5 growth engines was based upon. We're going to get somebody into the system, and then we're going to get them to close, and then they're going to get to fulfill, and it's a test. And the idea is that you won't be good at the beginning. You need a person to be good. All right. And now you have a person, now you get the test. In the end, I can say we were 30% referrals in just a matter of months. So we went from not having referrals over years and years to having 30%.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it comes down to. So if you're not getting people, sending people your way, and I love a referral, if somebody comes back to you, you're good. If somebody is willing to put their reputation on the line to send their friend to your clinic, that's what it comes down to, is their reputation. That means you're great. Okay. And that's what it's all about. And if you don't need to be great at everything, you just need to be great at one thing. So if you can really focus on that and the skills it takes to be good at one thing, then you can copy and paste on the other ones, but really dial down and get to that. And I think that's more of a referral is a status thing. You're going to thank me for the experience you have at that clinic. And if you're not there yet, then that's what you got to work on.
Yeah. It reminds me of the restaurants in New York City, because every restaurant in New York City has to be good, because if they're not, they're going to be out of business, because
that's it. There's too much good competition. They're so good. You got to be so memorable. And the great thing is that aesthetics it is like weight loss. If somebody comes in on a weight loss clinic after 6 months and they didn't lose any weight, no, okay. It's either you weren't able to convince them or they didn't do the job. But in aesthetics, you can see a noticeable difference. If you do it correctly. All these devices, we got so much great stuff nowadays. There's so many good solutions. And so if you set it up so that these clients always win, if you're not trying to sell them a treatment, but actually serve them a solution, then in the end, they're going to see it, and then they're going to share it. And they become walking billboards. Like people I come into the clinic all the time. My friend just saw, I haven't seen her in 6 months, and she's wondering, I changed my hair. And I was like, no, I didn't change my hair. It's my skin. And yes, you can tell. And they light up about it. I think that's a great part about it.
Yeah. How could people connect with you, reach out to you if they wanted to implement these 5 growth engines and work with you?
Yeah, I think the easiest way is just the Instagram. I have it at it's Scott Gilbert. So ITS Scott Gilbert, and then there's an underscore thingy at the end of it. And I say, if somebody from your audience, any Toyota clinic, the 5 growth engines literally will work for all of them. They're systematic that way. If you do send me and then send me a message that says Lou, Loo, and I will respond back and I will give them those documentations and the videos that go along with them. And hopefully it helps them get to where they need to go.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation and really loved the flow, and keep up the great work.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.